very, very early days. So
Yeah.
this was expected.
All right, and I do want to get your thoughts here on the leadership changes. Of course, Reed Hastings stepping aside, Greg Peters elevated to that co-CEO position alongside Ted Sarandos, and digging deeper down the organizational chart, Bella Bajaria now becoming Chief Content Officer, of course, a former president over at Universal Television Group. And then you also had Scott Stubert being named chairman of Netflix Film. Are you comfortable right now with the leadership team there?
Absolutely. They've been preparing for this for a very, very long time. So right in 2020, I mean, Reed Hastings kind of saw this coming. He elevated, Ted Sarandos to the position of co-CEO. And Greg Peters has really been such a core part of, the whole strategy, whether the product strategy really, like, introducing gaming, introducing ads. So he really kind of knows the product well. And this is such a great example of how succession planning should be done, right? In stark contrast to what we're seeing at Disney, this is really, it gives you, it kind of sets the playbook of how it should be done.
Gita Regnagothan, U.S. media analyst. So you're saying you don't think that Reed Hastings is just going to come back after 2 years? Is that what you're I mean, maybe when Jeff Bezos comes back to Amazon, okay? Big thank you to Gita Regnagothan over at Bloomberg Intelligence. Really appreciate you taking the time. Well, for more now on Netflix, it's John Ehrlichman of BNN Bloomberg. He co-hosts Bloomberg Markets. John, good to have you with us this afternoon. You've had about 12 minutes to dig into the numbers. We talked about the leadership changes. We've talked about the company's blowout sort of number when it comes to paid additions. What else sticks out to you?
Well, I think just the whole picture, in the sense that this is a company that has always had a unique way of approaching an earnings report, including with their conference calls, and we'll wait for more details on that. But after the year that Netflix just had, they get it. They know there are concerns about the competitive environment and the challenging subscriber growth questions that really pummeled the stock over the course of 2022. And so you look at this storyline where they can say, look, we can meet the revenue expectations. Yes, we are moving away from the subscriber guidance story, but we're going to let you know what's going to drive those subscriber numbers going forward, giving you that taste on how the ad tier is going to play out. Hopefully we'll get more details on that, Tim. But, I think as we heard from Gita on the succession plan, if you now have a handing of the baton from Reed Hastings, already Ted Sarandos in that top position, Greg Peters, a product specialist moving higher, and Bella Bajaria. Don't forget, guys, the New Yorker did a very interesting profile for her to start the year, kind of piecing together the Netflix global story.
Hey, one thing I want to ask you, because initially we saw Roku, Warner Brothers, Paramount, Walt Disney all pop right after these results. But I'm looking at it now, Disney looks relatively flat in the after hours, so we're seeing kind of a pullback on that. Is there anything, John, that we can read in terms of the Netflix results into the rest of the streaming world?
Well, I think the ad tier update is an important one. Now, as Gita noted, we didn't get any specific numbers, and maybe we'll get more color on the conference call, but they were very specific to say, because remember, there were a few reports out there that advertisers weren't necessarily getting the bang for their buck that they initially thought they might get when they first rolled that out. What the company is saying is engagement for anyone who's using the ad version has been good, and to Gita's earlier point, people are not necessarily switching from a paid membership to an ad-supported. So that is a message to anybody else out there that we can claim more users and not cannibalize our own users. So that becomes, is that a positive for the industry, or is it a message to the other players that Netflix is ready to hold their own? And then I think the other thing that's going to be really interesting to watch, you guys alluded to it a little bit, but the whole password sharing crackdown, which I think, and they were very clear to say, look, we're getting the succession roadmap together here. We met our numbers. We know it was a tough year. We're coming back. We're focusing on the ad-related business, which is new. But the first quarter, we're going to really get into the specifics of that password sharing business, which we believe is going to help the financial picture, even if some people decide, you know what, they're not going to use the service, albeit it was a free option for those people. And so this is a very well telegraphed message to Wall Street that we are ready to play. And it's been very interesting to watch this stock. As you guys know, it's up about 100% off the lows from last year.
Yeah, one of the better performing stocks in the second half of 2022. BNN Bloomberg's John Ehrlichman, thanks for giving us your take on the Netflix results. And I'm so interested in the fact that John mentioned that password crackdown, because that's not how Netflix uses it in its that language in its release. It calls it paid sharing. That sounds like
It's all
corporate
about
speak.
framing, right?
Talk about euphemisms there, but it adds to the idea that it can show that it's growing subscribers by just converting some of the people it's cracking down on to this page sharing tier, which presumably is at a lower price point than a brand new account. And it's going to start off in Latin America and eventually expand its way towards North America and the rest of the world. I got to say, it does feel like a different Netflix. Is this the post-pandemic Netflix? Are we starting to see some clarity on that? And this is the model going forward, right? We had a lot of optimism in October when we once again saw, growth in those Netflix subscriber numbers, and this is just a blockbuster number here, Romaine.
A blockbuster number here. I'm always just going on kind of the glass empty kind of person.
Wait, did we get? That is almost not quite double, but a lot more.
Okay, well, there you go. All right, so my point I was going to make is that when you sort of look at the year as a whole here, you're still talking about a slowdown in growth, and I think that when we talk about just how much the stock got decimated last year, it was really because of that longer-term growth story. The idea that, yes, you're going to have these sort of incremental jumps in subscriber growth, particularly when you're switching people out or trying to push them out of Autopass with sharing into these new plans. The question is, how sustainable is that on a quarter-to-quarter basis going forward? I guess that's not a question for Reed Hastings anymore. That's more for Greg Peters and Ted Sarandos.
All right, for the glass half full, Romaine, Netflix is still down more than 50% from that November 17, 2021 high. Does that make you happier?
No.
Okay. Anyway, it is definitely a high flyer in the aftermarket. We'll keep a watch on it in the Friday trade. Great coverage, guys. We got our wrap-up here, our cross-platform coverage on Netflix and the market close. Beyond the Bell, radio, TV, YouTube, and Bloomberg Quick Take. We will see you again, same time, same place tomorrow.
This is Bloomberg Business Week with Carol Massar and Jim Stanovic on Bloomberg Radio.
All right, Netflix, definitely one to watch.
It certainly is. Up in the after hours on that blowout number. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week.
And this is Bloomberg Radio.
Join Brian Curtis and Doug Krisner at 6 p.m. Wall Street time for Bloomberg Daybreak Asia. They'll have overseas reaction to Netflix earnings. That's Daybreak Asia tonight at 6 on Bloomberg Radio.
All right, coming up, folks, we are going to talk about women in the financial sector, especially when it comes to running banks. What is it about women that are just really makes them well-positioned to be CFOs? We're going to check in with the CFO over at First Horizon Bank. That's coming up next, right here on Bloomberg Business Week.
Now, your 3-day weather forecast on Bloomberg 1130.
Some occasional light to moderate rain will continue for the rest of today, and tonight as well, periods of rain likely, tapering the showers overnight, low temperature down around 40. Tomorrow, maybe a shower early, then partial sun, breezy, 45 to 50. At night, mostly cloudy and 35. Weekend looks okay, especially on Saturday, partly sunny, low 40s. Late day showers on Sunday, and again in the 40s. This is Gary Best with your weekend weather forecast on Bloomberg 1130.
Bloomberg 1130 speaks with global leaders live from the World Economic Forum in Davos.
James Glen, the chair and CEO of Morgan Stanley.
There's clear evidence inflation has in fact peaked and is coming down.
James Fraser, Citi.
We expect to see a rolling series of country recessions.
Bank of America CEO Brian Moynihan.
Our research team, which is the best in the business, has a mild recession predicted this year and the next year.
Live coverage from Davos continues all this week on Bloomberg 1130 and Bloomberg Television.
Join Bloomberg Live as the Future Investor Series comes to Chicago on January 24th. Experts from TD Ameritrade, UBS, Stifel, KPMG, Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund, and more will explore the mindset of the new generation of investors, as well as the growth trends and technologies that hold the most promise to them. This event is proudly sponsored by Invesco QQQ. Register at BloombergLive.com/futureinvestor/radio.
Why do alternative investment managers rely on Pershing for personalized prime services? Lisa Lewin, a director of BNY Mellon's Pershing Prime Brokerage sales team, shares how we help you consider everything.
As the alternatives industry continues to evolve, Pershing wants to know, are you getting the service and support you need to overcome today's obstacles and challenges? Are you confident in the stability of your counterparty? Do you need help expanding your investor network? Do you have the latest allocator insights on investment strategies? Whether you're looking for customized financing, securities lending solutions, or capital introductions, Pershing is an award-winning prime broker committed to providing exceptional service and dedicated to meeting your needs. so you can focus on growing your business and producing results for your clients.
To learn more about the unique and industry-leading solutions for hedge funds and other alternative managers, visit Pershing.com. Pershing LLC, member FINRA, NYSE, SIPC.
More pedal up, people, pedal those bikes. Intervals. Burn, come on, burn. Woo!
Performance is more exhilarating on a real road. Introducing the Audi Q5 with a 261 horsepower engine that'll take you 0 to 60 in 5.7 seconds. Always obey local speed and traffic laws.
Don't let someone else drive off in the Audi model you've always wanted. Visit your tri-state area Audi dealer to get behind the wheel of yours today, or visit AudiOffers.com for more information.
Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and at Bloomberg Quick Take. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
It's 4:21 on Wall Street. I'm Charlie Pellet. We check the markets all day long at Bloomberg. After the bell, Netflix reported the number of new subscribers blew past estimates, adding 7.66 million new subscribers. Estimates were for a gain of about 4.5 million. After hours, we've got Netflix right now up by about 4.5%. Netflix co-founder Reed Hastings is stepping aside as CEO of the company he's led for more than 2 decades. Also after hours, Nordstrom has cut its adjusted earnings per share guidance for the full year. Nordstrom shares after hours down 7.4%. T-Mobile is warning of significant costs after a cybersecurity breach. T-Mobile shares down now by 2.2%. Stocks lower for a third day on concerns about economic growth. S&P down 30, a drop of 0.8%. The Dow down 252, down 0.8%. Nasdaq down 104, a decline of 1%. 10-year yield 3.39%. Spot gold 19.32 the ounce, up 1.5%. West Texas Intermediate crude up 1.2% today. WTI at 80.44 barrel. Recapping another day of losses for the U.S. stock market. S&P 500 index down today by 0.8%. I'm Charlie Pellet, and that is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
All right, Charlie, thank you so much. So a lot on our plate right now. Netflix, though, certainly front and center. You hear Charlie talking about it. Stock off its highs in the aftermarket, but still up roughly 4%. A big reason why is the fourth quarter streaming paid net change up 7.66 million. The estimate by the street was, according to Bloomberg, 4.5 million. So that is major outperformance.
We're gonna not get subscriber guidance anymore from the company. The company has stopped giving out subscriber guidance. It's not going to affect the way I think that analysts estimate subscriber guidance. It's going to make their job a lot harder.
Right.
But that said, it's pretty incredible to see it beat like that. I will say, Carol, they're not sharing the share of which tier those were added to, if they were ad supported or if they were in the fully no ad tier.
We don't know about that yet.
We don't know about that. We don't know if we're going to get the guidance for that on the call.
They also haven't rolled it out completely.
They haven't rolled it out completely, but I think that's a really important distinction.
All right, well, keeping a watch on it, and certainly will into the Friday trade. Shares of Netflix still up about 4.5%. Well, I have to say, shocker today on the global stage as the news came out that New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern announcing she's stepping back in a shock resignation ahead of a general election later this year. Keep in mind, she was the world's youngest female leader when she led her Labour Party to power in 2017. She's basically saying, and she told reporters, I don't have the energy or inspiration to seek re-election, so stepping back.
Yeah, she told reporters, as you mentioned, that she doesn't have the energy or inspiration to seek re-election, which I was pretty surprised. If she can't do it, Carol, what hope is there out there for female leaders more generally? And with that, we want to bring in our next guest.
Yeah, Hope Dimichowski is Senior Executive VP and Chief Financial Officer at the more than $13 billion market cap First Horizon Bank, based in Memphis. She joins us via Zoom from Memphis, Tennessee. Hope, nice to have you here with Tim and myself. A lot we want to talk to you about, but when you see a headline like that or somebody else in the C-suite, that's a woman that steps down or resigns or whatever, and then isn't replaced by another woman. Like, how do you think about it? Because are you seeing, you're in the C-suite, you're CFO at First Horizon, do you feel like women are really making inroads when it comes to the C-suite?
Unfortunately, I agree with your introductory comments. Is absolutely when one person leaves like that we've had, and it's actually the second one for us because we also lost the English Prime Minister earlier this year after a very short time. And with such few women representation in certain industries and fields, when one leaves unexpectedly, it definitely has a big impact on all of us. We feel that, each one of us, we want to go up in numbers. We want to have more representation, whether it's a C-suite or in top layers of government. So it absolutely hits us all each time we see one of these senior women step back from any type of role in an area which is significantly underrepresented.
Based on your experience, how do we get from underrepresented to accurately represented?
Well said.
Great question. Yeah, I think it really comes with a conscious effort, but I think the data has shown, and Harvard Business Study did a great study on this last year, is diverse companies that have high diversity at the top, it just continues through the company. So the more that we get diversity in the C-suite of women, people of color, the more that you see your company start to change. People want to work where they can see themselves in that role. I do a lot of on-campus recruiting through a couple different companies that I've worked for in recent years, and the number one thing I hear from diverse talent, both women and minorities, is, what does your C-suite look like? And I can't see myself getting there if I don't see people like me there.
Yeah.
So I think representation matters.
Yeah,
it speaks to go after top talent.
It speaks to belonging, right? Like, if you don't see it, like, how can you feel like you belong there, or it's a good fit? How tough was it for you to work your way up?
That's a hard question to say how tough. We each have our own journey, but there's definitely a different path. I started my career in investment banking in New York City. When I started with Deutsche Bank, they had 100 leadership development graduates in the U.S., and they had 3 women. So I was the diversity candidate, 20 years ago. I think the hardest thing has been trying to find mentors and trying to find people that can help you along your route. Just got asked on a panel this morning here in Memphis, do I have a problem finding male mentors? The answer is no. I've had lots of great male mentors and allies. I have a harder time finding women that have been in the C-suite or have been at big companies that can mentor me and work through those situations with us.
What about the pipeline? As not necessarily C-suite executives yet, but those who are in their career, maybe midway through their careers. How do we make that more equitable? Because that's what gets you to the C-suite.
Yeah, there's a broken rung, especially in banking, but in a lot of industries when it comes to women as minorities. And they have to be constantly having allyship, constantly having mentorship, and having purposeful recruiting at all levels. Salesforce did a great job 2 years ago, I think it was, might be 3, kind of lose track of time with COVID, but they had done a equity study and made sure they had equal pay at all levels and really made a conscious effort to even out, and 2 years later they found out they went backwards. So the unconscious bias, it's there. And if you're not tracking it, if you're not measuring it, if you're not making a conscious effort, we're not making the progress we need to make.
It's interesting, too. I mean, did you ever feel like at some point, though, you're like, it's just really, it sounds like you've had a pretty good trajectory and good people behind you helping your way. What was the most difficult time, though, in your journey? As you say, everybody's journey is different, but was there a point where it was tough?
Multiple times. I can't tell you how many times I've sat down with my husband and said, I'm not sure this is for me. Being a wife and being a mother of 3, when your work and a job situation or I've dealt with a lot of bias in my career, unfortunately, when that takes away your ability to feel good about yourself, it impacts you in your other areas. And so many times I've had my career impacted with changes. I've had somebody make a comment to me that was very sexist or inappropriate, and every single time it made me question, is this what I want to do? Is this the environment I want to work in? And it's why I'm so passionate now that I have made it to the C-suite and I'm lucky to be one of the women do it, and doing mentorship and doing conversations like this and sitting on panels so that other women can know it's not easy, and it's okay to be hard. It's okay to question yourself some days. We need to, each one of us, just figure out what was the right thing for you. And each one of those times I came back and said, okay, I'm going to continue on. I'm going to continue with this company, and I'm going to be the one that makes the change that other women don't experience this.
No, it's